What's going on?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nonprofit Missionary Podcast. We're here to help you to become true missionaries to your community by establishing faith-based nonprofits, getting funding so that you can focus on long-term mission and outreach. And definitely we're talking about long-term mission outreach today. I had as a guest today Tanya Prince. She is a part of Green Vine Strategies and also Green Vine Coaching. She is a nonprofit consultant. She helps with strategic planning as well as one-on-one coaching. So if you need any support with that, definitely reach out to her. I really had a great time talking with her, and I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. So let's take a listen. Prophet Missionary Podcast. I'm here with Tanya Prince. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Thank you for agreeing. So can you tell me a little bit about your story on how you got to where you are?
Yeah, sure. I spent a career in the corporate world. So I grew up in rural Minnesota, and my mom was an immigrant from Mexico, my dad a truck driver, and so they had kind of always instilled in me kind of that bootstrap mentality, the come and work to have a better life, to be able to provide, and so kind of had that very strong performance mindset early on. But at the same time, I grew up in a household that was very faith driven. My dad would do devotions with us every week, and we would attend a Bible church, very kind of small like Bible chapel, and so I grew up certainly in the faith, but also kind of in a performance mindset as well, which God has used. With me throughout my career. So went to business school, actually got my undergrad in accounting and went to work in corporate finance. But then through that, my career evolved into continuous improvement. So kind of really looking at where you are today, where do you want to go in the future, and how do you get there? And then in organizational transformation with some really big type of changes in an organization. And then I moved into change management. So had kind of this career all around change and growth. And in that was strategic planning and helping the organization that I was a part of establish goals and priorities and kind of moving toward those outcomes. So after a bit of time, though, when I was working in a large org transformation, I always say they transformed my org transformation team out. So I found myself without a career for the moment. And at that time, I just really saw an opportunity to use my skill sets to help nonprofits. So I started to work with some friends who were looking to start up new nonprofits and just sought to use my skills around what I had learned in the corporate world for what they were trying to do, and particularly to serve the Lord with their mission work in their nonprofit.
Awesome. I love how it really, you can kind of just tell that God really designed you to do what you're doing. And I really love that. And also, like, that's one of my passions with nonprofits. It's like, yes, the world needs a lot of stuff, whether you're talking like help with fighting hunger, education, whatever, but it still means nothing without having the power of the gospel behind it.
Right.
Um, so when it comes to like starting a new nonprofit, what was that experience like in helping those people that were starting new? Like, what were some of the big tips that you gave them?
Yeah. Well, so it does come back to purpose. So you use the phrase designed and purpose. And I actually recently wrote a journal called Design for Purpose. So when I encounter folks, it's like the Lord has given them this great vision, this great purpose, this great idea and heart to serve people. But if you look at the biblical model, God has a plan and an order to things, right? So I really try to help people with that vision and help them kind of put the bones around that, the structure around that. So, for example, right away after I had the opportunity to have time off, one of my friends in my circle was looking to start a nonprofit to serve meals to homeless in Minneapolis. And so he had some pieces. He had a donor lined up for a van. He had kind of a concept of how he had seen it done before. But he's really struggling to kind of know where to go with that next. So we kind of stepped back and we said, okay, well, what is the scale that you want to do? Like how fast do you want to get out there? Like when do you want to start serving and how do we work back from that? So and then what are the donors that you're going to need? And when you're going to go speak to donors, how are you communicating your mission and your vision? How are you communicating to them that you are going to steward the resources that they give you to the accomplishment of the mission? So for me, it always starts with helping people be able to clarify the vision and the purpose that the Lord has given them for their nonprofit or for their service or their outreach. So it starts with that a really clear vision and mission that you can then articulate to others because you want other people to join you on your mission, right? And nobody does anything truly alone, right? So that's the place that I first started is working on the vision and the mission and then the values. So what are you going to do? Why are you going to do it? And how are you going to do it? And how do you communicate that to others that you need support from to join you in that mission?
Yeah, that's so true. Because I think it maybe not necessarily just especially in like the Christian circles, but I think kind of in general when you're talking about a nonprofit, like there's the everyone has the heart behind it because they you wouldn't start a nonprofit unless you were passionate about whatever it might be. And so I think as a result of it, it's like, I want to help with this, but it's important to kind of figure out what those steps are to get there. Whether you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about how you're going to do your, like, what exactly is your mission? Who is your first focus? Like, where are you kind of leading and guiding this organization? Because, like, especially in our world today, like, you can go in so many different
Yeah,
directions and avenues. So
yeah,
trying to find the best one, especially for like, for whoever it is, I think is so important.
right.
So a lot of that I think goes with strategic planning.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about like what are some of the biggest why is strategic planning so important? Like what makes it so vital for any organization to do?
Yeah, it's your roadmap, it's your blueprint, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like you actually, when you talk about like who you serve, so strategic planning, once you know your mission, vision, values, then it's who specifically are you going to serve? And it's really hard for folks to kind of think about narrowing that in because, of course, you want to serve everybody, but you're not going to be as effective if you're too broad and who you're seeking to serve. So I was recently working, so I actually serve on a school board. So I've been doing some consulting with nonprofits who are in the education space. So I kind of like really hone in and we do a stakeholder analysis, or you could say a customer analysis, perhaps. So, like, who are you serving? What are the needs that they have that you are going to serve? So, we do something that's in scope and out of scope before we even start digging into developing the plan to get there. So, being very diligent about what you're going to do, but also about what you're not going to do because it's really hard to say no to things, right? But when you say no to the things that are not in your mission and in your scope, then you're able to say yes to the things that you're really called to do, and you can do those well. So we do stakeholder customer analysis with who are you going to serve, really specific, what needs are you going to meet, what needs are you not going to meet, or and that can be hard because even in that, like you could maybe set it to the side and say, we're not going to be able to do this, but maybe eventually we'll down the road as we grow or scale, or we'll have a network of other people that do that work. So once you know the work that you want to do, then the strategic plan is like, how are you going to get there? So what's going to differentiate you as well from other organizations? So um, I serve in my Rotary Club locally, and so we see a lot of nonprofits come and have requests for grants. There's a lot of people doing the same thing, excuse me, actually. So as you think about that strategic plan, what are you going to do that's going to be differentiated from potentially another organization that's going to be differentiated enough so you do that better or that you serve differently than somebody else is serving. So we work through a lot of that clarifying. So I'd say on the way to the strategic plan, there's a significant amount of activity to drive clarity in what your mission and your strategy and your tactics are going to be. So a lot of times I like to use an approach when it's strategic planning, it's like tops down and bottoms up because it's actually I think really easy for those starting nonprofits to really brainstorm and brain dump. Like these are the because if you're visualizing the serving and you're visualizing the doing. It's harder to kind of then step back and say, what are the steps to get there? So we paint that picture of these are all the things we want to do. So we just start listing them off, doing a brain dump, kind of envisioning like the things that you want to do. Then we step back and we say, okay, how do we group these collection of initiatives? Of services of things that you want to do, and how do we kind of group those into key strategies to get there. So we kind of look to make sure we say that those strategies are going to be these focus areas in this way. And we also start thinking about, okay, well, now on a roadmap time horizon, what is it going to take to do this? What's most important to start first? So, in addition to the strategic plan about what are you going to do when in that roadmap, you have to also think about what are the capabilities that you're going to need to do it. Because you have to build that organizational capability to be able to get to do those things. So you focus in, you can have that balance of, I'd say like the low hanging fruit, kind of the get started. I've heard a great phrase from John Maxwell. I'm part of the Maxwell Leadership Program, and learn a little, do a little. So sometimes, that scaling up, it's like, what can you bite off? What can you do? There's another word, minimum viable. So what's the kind of the small scale model to test and learn from? So it is paced, right? It doesn't, not everything happens overnight. And I think that can be really hard in the heart of someone who's really mission driven and really wants to get out there and serve. But I think that one of the best ways to kind of capture that momentum is to start small, have some small impacts and grow from there. And that also demonstrates what you can do to donors or to where you need to fundraise.
Yeah, that's really good. And especially like let's say you're doing like I feel like I visualize like that vision casting, that strategic planning meeting, and everyone is like so excited and everyone's like, "Yes, let's do all this stuff." But really like in order to get to where you want to go, it's going to take about 10, 15, 20 steps to actually get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I really feel like more nonprofits need to do strategic planning because like I look at a lot of the clients that I work with and a lot of the people that I know, a lot of them don't necessarily like they might have done one to start or they might have
Yeah.
done one a while ago. Why do you think so many nonprofits don't do strategic planning more often?
Mm. I think it's kind of you get caught up in the doing. Um, and then you forget to kind of step back and look and keep that strategic plan living. So it should absolutely be a living document. So when I do strategic planning, I keep it alive by the initiatives that are aligned to each strategy. And I implement a review cycle that it could even be monthly. So it's like, these are the initiatives under the strategy. How are we progressing against those? Okay, what's got to fall off? Maybe what did we learn that we're not going to do? What might come on? So that you're really you're ensuring that the tactics are staying aligned with your strategic plan and then modifying as you go. So it really should be a living document that you and your team are regularly working through to stay in alignment.
Yeah, that's true, especially if it's like if you have like a specific idea of where you want to go in mind. You need to have like you need to make sure that you're still on pace because let's say one of your focuses is like scaling fundraising so that you're making $1 million a year, but then like and that's like a 5 year thing, but then 3 years in you're still making $250,000, 300,000. Like you have to kind of look at it and kind of make sure that you're still on pace, right? Like that's such an important part.
Yeah. Another piece that I look at is your resourcing. So for each initiative in your strategies, who is it going to take? So for example, to your point about, let's say you're the nonprofit founder. Well, you need to devote time to doing, you need to devote time to operating, you need to devote time potentially to fundraising. So one of the things that I work with is once you've got the kind of set of initiatives that you want to do at a time horizon, and I recommend three like big picture 3 years out to start if you're brand new, and then focusing in that first year, and then you're refining as you go and you're learning. But if you are looking and you're like, oh, I'm to do this thing, I'm going to need this person or this skill or this I have to purchase legal or HR or some of those kind of things that you may not have internally. What is the cost of that going to be? And then you start checking, kind of and visualizing a spreadsheet, right? So you've got your things that you want to do here, you've got your people it's going to take or resource across top, and you start to see, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be really time constrained if I'm trying to do all these things. So it also forces you to prioritize your resources with the work that you want to do and helps you see that very clearly, again, to adjust.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, and I think also like especially a nonprofit founder, they're getting into it because once again about that passion and that mission drivenness that they have. But then in order to make that mission happen, there are so many different systems that need to be put in place. And it's so important to have that. So let's talk a little bit about scaling up here.
Mhm.
What do you think are some of the what do you think is a good strategy to say like let's say you do want to increase your nonprofit's influence, your funding or anything like what does the scaling up process look like to you?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it starts with having a model where you're really specific about what services you're going to provide, getting those into a place where they're sustaining, and then starting to add from there. So you've got your vision of where you want to do. So it's either adding or it's expanding who you're serving. So let's say maybe you're working in an educational nonprofit serving students. Let's say you're doing mentoring. So maybe you're going to focus in and say, I really want to serve middle school students in that transition at this one school. So you make sure that you're doing that well, that you've got that running, you've got the right mentors, you've got the right funders for that. Then you start proving it out because it is so tied to funding. You have to kind of pace your funding with your service, right? Or if it's completely volunteer, with your ability to recruit and keep your volunteers. So I kind of would say in that example, you're growing out. So you might say, I'm going to now serve high schoolers at that same school. Or you might say, no, I really love this middle school is where I'm group is where I'm called to be. I'm going to add another school. And maybe it's in that same district because you're developing a relationship. So relationships, kind of clarifying what you're learning, and then either looking at how you serve more people with what you're doing well, or what might be something more you can add in to serving the population that you're serving. So to me, I feel like I just visualize like something that's core, and then you're growing out, growing out, growing out from there.
I really love that picture. I think that's a great way to look at it. Because I feel like that's something that having like that idea of who you want to serve and is this working well? Is it more the demographic that I'm serving? Is it more the area that I'm serving and I can expand it that
Mhm.
way? I think that's really important to look at.
Mhm.
Um, do you think that there are nonprofits that scale up too quickly? And what do you think can be like solved with that if that's an issue?
Yeah, I guess I'd say the common pitfalls that I see in scaling up is not having a clear path to your resources or adding things too quickly that you can't deliver on. As you know, I like I said, I've seen through my Rotary role, different organizations come, and the ones that sustain really are, I think, disciplined in that focus and in that growth area. The ones that I see, there's a verse that's exuberance without wisdom is foolishness, and I take that to heart in my own business and the own things that I'm trying to do. Because if you have really great exuberance and you have like this heart's desire, but you start going out there and you start telling people, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but you don't actually have the structure to do it yet, then you lose credibility and you break trust. Then you don't have the donors and the funding, and then you can't perform the service. And that can actually have a really negative impact in terms of maybe you were doing something well to start, and now you lose the funding to do the original thing that you were doing well. So I think it takes discipline. I think wise advisors. I have a group of women I call my iron sharpens iron. So I think you need wise advisors. So not only do you need like the people in your organization to do the work, it's like building a foundation, right, of who your close doers are going to be with you in the mission. planning for turnover, because that's another piece that can really negatively impact nonprofits. Really hard to keep volunteers, right? Going in eyes wide open, because not everybody can always dedicate that amount of time to your mission that you are all the time. So just being really planful about your resources, I think, is a significant aspect to scaling up or to the challenges of scaling up.
Oh, that's good. I love the verse. Exuberance without wisdom
Yeah,
is foolishness.
yeah,
Cause yeah, that's so true. Cause like, I mean, I not even with like the organizations I work with, but I see it with like so many different people like in our community where they're like, man, I really want to go and do this. And they get so excited. And then like I've come to the point where I kind of wait to see what they actually do. Because
yeah.
sometimes it's like, yeah, you're excited about this, but then you realize all the different things that happen or the things that need to happen in order to make it happen. It's a lot. That's
Mhm.
why like I think especially in like the consultancy world, I think it's so important to have people that can kind of help you and guide you along in that way. So
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about like some of the other things that you do as a consultant?
Yeah, so I always say the Lord's called me to do a lot, but it can be challenging for me to always practice the wisdom of what I need to say yes to. So right now I serve on my school board, so my heart has been really in the education space and helping organizations that are scaling up because we know we have an educational crisis. So the work that I do really centers in on kind of the things that I described at the start, which is around how can we help to get a clear mission, vision, scope, how do we clarify who we're serving, and then building out those strategic plans. So that's kind of one of the key areas that I focus in terms of consultancy. And then I also kind of do coaching. So I am not an expert in legal things, taxes, those kind of things, but I feel that I can use the things that I've learned that I can help people with the organization and with the thought process of where do I want to go next. Is just I spend time each morning in my kind of daily time with the Lord, and he's just designed me to be a coach and a guide. So whatever I learn, I want to help others with. I learned this, like, here's how it can apply to you. Here's how you can use it. And I think it's to that background that I had in continuous improvement of, I say on my LinkedIn and things like that, that I help people and organizations achieve their potential. And to me, it kind of came back to young people. So I started out early in my career in business, actually coaching high school kids in track and cross country. So it kind of comes back to that. The Lord's put in me the desire to help, to coach, to see potential in people, but help them to realize that potential. So I've got the gift of administration and organization and kind of back to the, a lot of nonprofits have the gift of like service and helps, but you need to bring other people along with the other gifts that are going to help you, right? Because it's like the analogy of the body. Like you need the arm, you need the foot, you need all of those pieces to be successful.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and I definitely get that too as like the because I feel like God has kind of given me that gift of like coaching and teaching because even like from a young age myself like I always felt like people would ask me for help like whether it's like
Yeah.
classmates in school or like when I was working people would ask like oh so how do you do this so I totally get that and so let's say someone wants to get in contact with you what would be
Yeah.
the best way to do that.
Yeah, so they can reach out to me for consulting services at greenvinestrategies.com. And it's like the Bible verse that's right behind me, John 15:5. That's really what the Lord gave me as a vision. The idea of being connected to Him. Remain in you. If you remain in me and I remain in you, you will bear much fruit. And so I want to help people bear fruit. So greenvinestrategies.com. But I also do purpose coaching. So if it's more kind of one-on-one as you're thinking about the work that you're doing as a nonprofit individual and you're getting stuck, you're wondering like, where is the Lord leading me? I do purpose coaching, and so that's greenvinecoaching.com. So you can find me in those two places, Greenvine Coaching on Instagram and Facebook. But those are the two places to find me. And one of the other things that you can check out is I've just recently published a reflective journal called Designed for Purpose. And that's available everywhere books are sold. So kind of back to the thinking about, where is God leading me? And what doors are opening? Where am I encountering barriers? How is he speaking to me? Because as a nonprofit founder and organizer, it's especially in missions work, it's so critical that you're staying close to God and where He's leading you, and that biblical model of success or of goal setting or of planning. Like if you think about how all of the people throughout Scripture who God has called to do things, it's order, it's not disorder. So I feel like we're really called to stay in step with that leading, not getting out ahead and not staying too, slow or being too cautious. So it's just so critical to, in this type of work, to stay close to the Lord as the foundation.
Amen to that. I can't say anything else to that because I totally agree. Thank you so much for all that you do, Tanya, and I continue to pray that God blesses you as you continue to move along with helping other nonprofits grow, helping them to grow properly, helping them to figure out what God has called them to do in a very specific way. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in again. If you liked this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Definitely check out Tanya's stuff as well. I just really appreciate everything that she's doing from another part of just doing the faith-based work that's needed to help other nonprofits grow. So until next time, stay focused, stay funded, and we'll see you guys next time. God bless.